Hi, I'm Barrett.
And I'm Brandon.
And we are Bionic Fitness.
Today we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the importance of back work and balance. While we're stuck in self-isolation, we're seeing a lot of content online around home workouts and body weight workouts, which is fantastic. It's great to stay active at home. You don't necessarily need a gym to be able to do your workouts. The tricky thing that we see though is that body weight workouts don't involve a lot of back. Back requires some kind of resistance to pull in order to activate it, right? So unless you have resistance bands, TRXs, or weights, it's tough to get that back work in, and so we're going to go through a little bit about compensation patterns and how back functions today. Okay, so let's come forward. Brett, if you can kind of give me a side view here.
Sure.
When people work at desks and they end up really tight and stuck there for a long period of time, everything in the front closes up and ends up getting tight, facilitated, and stuck here. Everything in the back, as you can see, kind of elongates and stays long and kind of deactivates and weakens for some people. We talked a little bit about pec minors in the chest video, so take a look at that. The pec minor is a muscle that goes from the shoulder blade and crosses into 3 points of the rib cage, and that's what is pulling Barrett's shoulders forward. They're really tight and they're really stuck there. The reciprocal muscle group to that is the rhomboid, right? So if the pec minor is stuck there and tight, then the rhomboid can't contract to pull that shoulder backwards, right? They kind of work in opposites, just like so, right? So it's really important with your back work to start off by stretching that chest open so you have full range of motion and you can kind of hit the back the way that you want it to, right? Back is also really important for posture. You can see Barrett's kind of pulled his back into position and all of a sudden his posture is nice and even. We talked a little bit about the nervous system and the spine and how that fires all of your muscle groups in your body and how posture is really relevant to that, right? We're going to take a look at a couple of movements here, mainly just the row, and see what compensation patterns happen. While you're in this position, can you give me a faulty row?
Yeah.
So what Barrett's doing is what most people do here. They compensate by jutting that head forward. They contract those upper traps. The shoulders dump forward and the elbows go really far back, right? If you take a look, let's turn around in that position. Barrett's back is still kind of long. Nothing is really contracting here. He's not actually hitting the back. He's contracting the upper traps. The lats are deactivated, and you can't really see any of the contraction in his back here, right? Instead, what he's doing is contracting the bicep and dumping the shoulder in a row, which he thinks is hitting the back, but it's not actually hitting the back, right? So to correct this, what we're gonna do, we're gonna stabilize or brace the shoulder, right? So let them down, relax. The shoulder stabilization and bracing is really important in all of our exercises. We talked about how that's important in the chest exercise in our push-up video or our chest video.
As well, we talked about it in our lat activation video as well.
Absolutely. So if Barrett braces his back, so let's turn your back to the camera so we can kind of see. If he pulls his shoulder blades together through the rhomboids and flares down through the lats, just like we talked about in those in the lat activation video, you can already see his musculature contracting to brace those the shoulders the way that they should, right? In a back exercise, all of your back muscles cross the shoulders. So if your shoulders are not retracting backwards and moving with that contraction, then you're not doing that exercise effectively, right? So let's go to the side view. This time Barrett's going to do a row correctly. Actually, give me one faulty rep so we can see. Perfect. And now give me a correct one. Right, as you can see, Barrett's pec minors and chest are opening up because the back is properly closing up. Step forward just a little bit. Perfect. The back is kind of closing up, right? And if we turn him to the back, we can see the lats fired up. We can see the rear deltoids supporting his shoulders. We can see that his upper traps are pretty soft. We can see that his rhomboids here are fired up and bracing those shoulder blades together. All of a sudden, this back strip right along mid-back is fired up and helping him support his spine and making sure everything is nice and braced, right? Another thing that's happening here is in order to not arch through his lower back, give me a side view, because when people pull their shoulder blades together, oftentimes they'll arch through the lower back, right? So he's contracting his abs to pull down his rib cage and make sure that he's not compensating through the lower back for the back work. He's braced and he's pulling through that mid back. Another couple things that we see in the gym that are compensation patterns that we want to try and avoid is momentum. So give me a little momentum. Perfect. In momentum, he's bearing weight for that first little piece, and he's just following the momentum all the way through. He's not actually bearing weight. It's just the force that's kind of carrying it all the way through, right? The other thing that we see is people tilting forward and backwards, using their hips and their back to do that back work. Give me a little demo on. Perfect. Once again, as you can see, this is not isolating or contracting the back. It's really the lower back and the hips that are doing most of the work in that, as well as the biceps, right? So for back work, once again, to brace that posture, to make everything fire through the spine, to make sure that those shoulders are not dumping and put into like a compromised position where pain will occur in the long run. We are making sure that everything in that mid strip, like I talked about, is fired and bracing really nicely, right?
And of course, don't forget engaging that core, tucking your butt underneath you, and using those lower abs and upper abs contracting together. That's really important as well.
Yeah, we really want abs and backtivation.
Right? Enjoy that backtivation, guys.
All right. Thanks so much for watching. If you are not doing back work right now, try to include some back work with pulling on some kind of band or some kind of object, or even just body weight contraction of that mid strip. It really helps to counterbalance some of the front work that we end up doing that tightens us up and pulls us forward.
Yeah, stretch your chest as well after you do any sort of chest work as well, and that will help as well.
We're going to be doing a stretching or mobility video, so keep your eyes open for that one and follow along.
And remember, guys, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. As well, you can follow us on Instagram. That's going to be in the description below. As well, if you want to email us, that's down there too.